Hi y'all, I'm back. Okay, so there is about 6 things that I want to review for you guys to keep in mind when studying, either on your own time or when listening to my videos. A couple of them kind of go hand in hand, but anyway, so I've had struggles with learning growing up, which sometimes I was able to hide pretty well. And for a while, I didn't really recognize that I had a problem until I really felt it. And so anyway, I don't have any memories of like doing homework with my mom or anybody explaining to me different things or different ways that you can study. I don't know. I don't feel like I really had much guidance when it comes to that. No hate towards my mama. I love her to death. She was a single mom, was always working 2 to 3 jobs, and so she could only do so much, you know. But there was one time, once I had already graduated from high school, I had to study for my citizenship interview, and I was freaking out. And like the night before or something, my mom and I sat down together. I had created some flashcards, and I kind of asked her to help me review them. And while we were studying, she did stuff that was helping me remember, and I only wish that I had that so many years before. But anyway, it was so helpful, and I feel like that memory of that night has helped me now to be able to study a little better. And not to mention, some information in the book also helped me. And then there's things that I was doing unknowingly that I'm now able to pinpoint, and I'm hoping that I can explain it to y'all and it can help someone else. So anyway, with that said, the first thing I want to mention is, if you can't sit there and review full chapters, if it's too overwhelming, if you don't have time, whatever it is, I highly suggest, if you're not going to do anything else, review the definitions in the glossary of the chapters that you have the hardest time understanding or remembering. Even if you feel like you're not focusing or whatever, review it. I strongly believe that even if you think you're not retaining the information, that there's going to be bits and pieces that are stored somewhere in there that'll come to the forefront when it's needed. So like when you're taking the test and certain questions come up and you think that you don't remember certain information, it's probably going to come to you. I'm hoping so. So anyway, if you don't have time to do anything else, or you're too overwhelmed to read the whole chapter, read the glossary to the chapters that you think you have the hardest time with. 2, even if you do have time to read the chapters, I highly recommend you review the glossary, not after the chapter, but before you read the chapter. I feel like it is so much more helpful for you to read it beforehand, because a lot of this information is new information to you as a barber if you don't have any background in barbering. Unless you have a family member or somebody who's already given you some information, you most likely are going to come in contact with a lot of words that you've never heard before. So that makes it even more overwhelming when you're reading these paragraphs and you don't understand half of the words. So I just feel like it'll be a lot more easier for you to go through these chapters if you're reading the full chapter, if you go in with already a little bit of an idea of what some of these words that they're going to be using mean. So anyway, look at any pictures, diagrams, tables in chapters. Again, if you don't read the whole chapter, most importantly, review the glossary and look at diagrams and pictures. It is so much easier to remember information when you can visualize it. If you look at a table, you might think that you're not retaining this information, but the more you look at it, I bet you will have some of that information stored somewhere in your big old brain, and some of it will come to you when you need it. So look at pictures and diagrams, especially those that holds information that you don't already know. I mean, if you know something already, I mean, you don't really have to waste your time reviewing that. Focus on the things that you have a hard time remembering. These are some tips that I got from a different source, but they're helpful. So use songs or rhymes to help you remember information. Come up with your own or some that already exist. The only thing that comes to mind off the top of my head right now is we had a teacher that would say, the wetter the better, to help you remember that you need to really wet the hair. So just come up with stuff that can help you remember with a song or a rhyme. Another thing you can do is use or create acronyms. So use acronyms that already exist to help you remember certain information, or create your own. What is an acronym? You use the first letter in a phrase or name that can make it easier for you to remember certain stuff. So like an example of some acronyms that we use on a daily basis that have nothing to do with barbering is LOL, POV, TBH, WYD, WTF. Laugh out loud, point of view, to be honest, what you doing, what the fuck. So you can do that with anything. I mean, anything that you think will be easier to remember if you create an acronym, then do it. An important acronym when related to barbering is ABCDEs when related to cancer warning signs. Cancers of like the skin, like if somebody has a mole or something and you want to monitor it to see if it might be cancerous, you can look for the ABCDEs, which mean A for asymmetry, B for border, C for color, D for diameter, and E for evolving. So you look to see if there's any changes in that mole. You look at the asymmetry of it, the color, the border, the diameter, and if it is evolving. So that is an acronym to remember that. Some other examples of acronyms related to barbering are the MSDS, the SDS, the HCS, the GHS, which I'm not really going to go into the definitions of them, but I'll tell you what they are. MSDS is technically what is now the SDS, Safety Data Sheet. Back then it was the Material Safety Data Sheet. The HCS is Hazard Communication Standard, and the GHS is Globally Harmonized System. And then I'll give more information on that later, but I'm just kind of showing some examples of some acronyms. So anyway, you can come up with some acronyms to remember certain information. So you can use word associations, which is you associate new information with old information, or a personal experience, memory, or related concept to remind you of the word or subject you are studying about. So not only does it have to be like an old memory or personal experience you've had, but you can come up with your own. You can come up with a story. If it helps you remember, then so be it.